Hello there everybody, and welcome to this feature presentation on YouTube. I am King Mac, your hamburger pal. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to enjoy a hot fresh cheeseburger along with some delicious golden french fries, a tasty milkshake, and a nice soft drink. Also be sure to grab some hot buttery popcorn while you're at it as you enjoy this episode of TTBurger Game Reviews on YouTube.
Welcome back everybody, it is now time for more TTBurger Game Reviews here on YouTube. I'm your host Tony, and we're still getting into the St. Patrick's Day celebration here by getting into the spirit of it by wearing our hat and glasses and all that stuff and everything. Got a different hat here, it lights up, I'm sure you know it's there. But today we're continuing our Rayman Series review here, episode 288, part 2 of 3 parts. Looking at the 3 games in the Rayman trilogy. That means there's no looking at those spin-off games or that awful brain games, Rayman Rush, Rayman Arena, or Origin Legends that are at a Rave Ravage. We're going to look at the Rayman games that came out for the trilogy and stuff like that and everything. And we have a lot to talk about. And we're going to look at the sequel to the original Rayman. This had been in the works a year after the first Rayman. It was going to be ported on the PlayStation PC stuff with a side scroller and everything. It was going to be similar to little stuff, but all that hype surrounding Super Mario World, Sonic the Hedgehog and stuff, and Bubsy and everything, they scrapped it. And it was scrapped for years. I mean, Rayman had a game released after the original Rayman on the PlayStation called Rayman Brain Games. A shitty educational game. And it had the same art style, it had the same look of the original Rayman, but it wasn't fun at all. I don't have it in my collection, and I don't recommend anyone get it in their collection because the game is not worth it in the end. It's not fucking worth it. But we are not looking at that. I'm not going to boil the tears with educational games here. I'm not going to do that. Today we look at the sequel that was released 4 years after the original Rayman in 1999. This time we have a 3D action platformer where Rayman evolves into 3D. That is Rayman 2. Starting with the Nintendo 64 version, then the PC, then Sega Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, Game Boy Color, Nintendo DS, Nintendo 3DS, and iOS, and more. Yes, Rayman 2 was everywhere. This purchase game you could get on any console due to it being ported everywhere, like holy shit. I have played it on multiple consoles, Rayman 2, which I'll talk about that later. And the game was originally titled Rayman 2, The Great Escape. And I remember the Nintendo 64 commercial about like, this is Rayman, this is a man named Ray, and all that stuff and everything. And there was also a little advertisement where it showed Rayman at a bar with like people and stuff, which was kind of funny there watching TV. But that's kind of off topic though, because we need to talk about the game here. We get the PlayStation 2 version of Rayman 2 titled Rayman 2 Revolution, which was released on January 30th, 2001. 2 years, about almost 2 years after the release of Rayman 2 The Great Escape on the Nintendo 64. Now, Rayman 2 Revolution, or The Great Escape, depending on which version you play and own, took the series into a whole new direction. Instead of a bright, colorful, cartoony theme freeing Electroons and stuff, this time we get a dark, serious theme where we start learning about these Robo-Pirates that have done bad things to the world, led by the evil Admiral Razorbeard. And is it worth buying? Yes, of course. Which version? I'll explain later. But Rayman 2 Revolution is a fantastic sequel. No more insane difficulty for the most part, even though there are still a couple times where it gets that way. And a full 3D world and gameplay of likable characters and fun minigames make this a must-buy, but not without its problems, which we'll talk about later. Now, Rayman 2, The Great Escape versions and Revolution are different from each other, mainly due to the hub worlds and the graphics, the voice acting, which I'll explain more with the ports later on. We need to get to the review here. We're gonna go prior to the events of Rayman 2 Revolution. Razorbeard and his pirates destroyed over hundreds of planets, enslaving the inhabitants, capturing them on board the Buccaneer Razorbeard's prison ship, where the inhabitants are cramped in these cages, dying of hunger and thirst, and want help and want water and everything. Rayman, along with his friend Glowbox, makes his debut in the series here, and Lee the fairy, no Batila the fairy, and no the magician this time, but anyway, continuing after Razorbeard and his pirates, after the invasion of the Glacial Drink, where Razorbeard shatters the primordial core, and due to the shattering of the core, Rayman and Glowbox are captured, taken aboard the Buccaneer, and Rayman loses his powers. Glowbox finds Rayman, and Rayman is depressed and thinks it might be the end. But Glowbox tells him not the end. Glowbox brings a good gift from Lee the fairy, and Glowbox gives Rayman a silver lump and he can use his fist again. But they decide to go see Lee herself because Lee can give him his powers, what they believe. Attempting to escape the Buccaneer, which they do, Glowbox and Rayman are separated, and Glowbox is captured. And now Rayman must find Glowbox, find Lee, gain his powers back, defeat the pirates, defeat Razorbeard, and along the way bring peace to the world. And Rayman meets Murphy, who is this little fly guy who is your guide, and the way he talks and everything, he's a guide. And later on, when Rayman frees Lee, she tells Rayman the way to stop the pirates and Razorbeard is to find the foremast to awaken the spirits, Polokus or Polokus, whatever it's called, and it's the way to defeat everything. And there's more to the story, but if I go any further, we're gonna be here all day. And the story is well done. Now I spent the last couple minutes explaining it, but it really is a good story, and I like the change in the direction it went here. Rayman 2 can also be considered a reboot because nothing from the first game is here except for Rayman himself. And I guess it's a yes and no, but that's up to you to decide. Me, it's a sequel in a different direction. Because this was Ubisoft's first attempt at a 3D platformer. They did that with Tonic Trouble on the Nintendo 64 as a testing, and we know how that went and stuff, but the PC version was okay, but they learned from Tonic Trouble, made the game here, and that's what we got. Graphically, Rayman 2 Revolution for the most part is good. We're talking about the PlayStation 2 version here, so just saying, if you want to know about the PlayStation edition, play the N64 graphics set, then look at another review. The PlayStation 2 version is the best version of the bunch. The Dreamcast version comes pretty close along with the PC version, and PlayStation and Nintendo 64 version are in last place, not counting the portable ones here. The character models look really good. Rayman looks very detailed, and seeing him use his powers in full 3D, mainly the helicopter hair, all look great. And yes, he has the helicopter hair right away. How it should have been in the first game, get it near the beginning. Glowbox looks good, and the way he moves around is pretty cool, especially when he does his Rayman, his rain dance power. If I mentioned Glowbox can have this rain dance power, can like make plants grow into platforms and get rid of lasers and everything like that, and security gates. Next to Lee and the pirates and Razorbeard can look scary. Not Lee, but the pirates and Razorbeard can look scary to kids and everything. The levels look detailed and well done, but some of them though, like some of the hub worlds, are cramped like areas that have too much shit going on in them. Like they burnt too many burgers, something like that. The cutscenes look good, but they kind of not aged all that well. But still look good, although the lip syncing is not very good. Like, no matter which language setting you put it in, it's not going to be very good. But the worst part of the graphics of Rayman 2 Revolution is the frame rate. The frame rate is absolutely atrocious at times. It runs at most 30 frames per second. But when the action gets really hot or go into a new area, the frame rate can really bog down. This is inexcusable because this is a PlayStation 2 game, next-gen console. They could have fixed the frame rate here. The auditory department, Rayman 2 Revolution, is great, but one problem that does affect the sound. The music and voice acting are excellent, amazing. All the versions except for the PlayStation 2 version had the gibberish language, which is similar to Banjo-Kazooie and Croc 2. The PlayStation version only had English, but the PlayStation 2 version mainly has multiple languages like English, Deutsch, French, and Raymanian. Raymanian is the gibberish, which is like kind of been upgraded to make it sound like an actual language, so I'm just like hearing the same things over and over again. I'm using the Raymanian because, in my opinion, that's the main language Rayman speaks, and it fits perfectly in my opinion. The music is amazing no matter which version you have, although the Nintendo 64 version is muffled and really compressed due to the cartridge space. But the main complaint about the sound in Rayman 2 Revolution is the voice acting is mixed so low you can barely hear it. The music is way too loud in the cutscenes. If you turn the music down, you cannot hear the voice acting that well at all. Similar to the first Rayman, you have atmospheric sounds as well at times instead of the music. Gameplay department of Rayman 2 Revolution is fun, but not without its problems, but it's better than the original Rayman. Yes, it is better. It's an improved sequel that made a lot of improvements. This time we have a 3D platformer with these huge worlds to explore and navigate to. What makes Rayman 2 Revolution different from the other versions is that it has hub worlds, not a map to get you from point A to point B. And the hub worlds, I actually kind of like the hub worlds. They got arrows to show you where to go and everything to make it easier to navigate and everything. There's no map, so just saying there, but yeah, like Rayman 2 improved a lot on combat. And this time you have a lot of your powers right away, like your fist and helicopter hair and hang on ledges. No more getting powers too late in the game, and plus Rayman can swim underwater, not drown right away like last time. A huge improvement to be able to swim underwater finally. Sure, you can get upgrades from silver lums and such in the PlayStation 2, but you have to buy certain upgrades, which can be kind of a problem there, but it's not the worst thing in the world. But this is nothing compared to how it was like in the original Rayman. And, you know, it actually makes things better to have helicopter hair and your fist right away and stuff and everything, and you can get like your fist become a magical and stuff after you free these things they're called the teensies, which are like they give you these circles to like jump through like the portals so that to go back to where you're from, but you don't know which one's the king because they keep saying one's the king, there's the king, there's the king, there's the king. It's like stop. It's what Rayman says in the game. But since we're talking about lums here, we're gonna talk about them because they're a key part of the game. These lums come in different colors, kind of like dragonflies. The yellow lums are the key ones to find throughout the game, to find 1,000 of the story. That is until Razorbeard kills one of them, and it's down to 999, and the PlayStation version only has 800. Red lums refill your health. The green lums are checkpoint lums. You have blue lums, depending on which version you have, refill your health, refill your oxygen underwater. The purple lums can swing you from using your magic fist, similar like how it was like when you got that upgrade when you beat the Dream Forest world, and where you can hang for those things and stuff like that. It's kind of similar to that. Silver lums give you upgrades, you get these as you progress the story, and also you have familiar spirits that are locked in cages, similar to the Electunes. Get these to unlock minigames that Lee can give you when you find her. The controls are simple to the last time, you know, they work well. You also have puzzles solved by flipping switches, unlock shutters, throwing items to break stuff, and sometimes you need glow box to help you there, and you got the plums here. You can punch plums again, which is cool, but they're not so fun to ride on them. Because when you're on a plum riding the lava, you have to face the opposite direction and keep punching repeatedly to get some speed, and it can get you killed if not killed, especially in areas with lava in them. Also, there are cheap deaths here. Not as bad as last time, but still gets annoying. You don't get knocked off when you get killed, but still like too many people gang up on you, boom. And also you have this missile you ride on that sounds like a horse, where things get burger-assy here. It's easy to crash and get hurt sometimes jumping around. It does not respond well. And these mini-games you can unlock are not really that much fun, so yeah. And while the PlayStation 2 version has hub worlds and stuff, the game loads way too much. Every time it loads, it asks you to save the game too, even if it's just 30 seconds ago, which is just pretty annoying. And the voice acting English-wise is good, but it loses the charm from the gibberish, so stick with that. And also the boss fight's a little too easy if you know what you're doing. And it's not necessary to get all the lumps of spirits, and when you do, you just get access to mini games and 100% and nothing changes. You can easily get lost in this game because the levels all look familiar to each other in certain areas. But no one said this game was perfect though, I'm saying that much there. I also forgot to mention one of this guy named Clark the Giant, who pretty much is kind of a scaredy cat, runs off after you and stuff, but you know, that's not a problem, it's just his character there. But no one said this game was perfect, still a fun game no matter which version you get. Before we wrap things up here, we need to talk about the other versions. The Nintendo 64 version was the first version to come out, and I played it at the time and I loved it, but those controls and washed out graphics, sound delay, and everything made it not age well. It's still good though, but not aged the best. PlayStation 2 version is the least best version of the bunch. A lot of the content was cut, there's no Murphy, and there's only 800 lums, and they made the game shorter and everything like that. It's just like you're only getting half the game. Thankfully, the PlayStation 2 version fixes this. Dreamcast and PC versions never played them and heard they're similar to one another like the N64 version, just better graphics and sound. Nintendo DS version is Rayman DS, basically the Nintendo 64 version on the handheld with no extras whatsoever. Same with Rayman 3D on the Nintendo 3DS, it's basically the Dreamcast version, which is fine, not really any changes unless you want it on the go. PlayStation 2 version is the best version of the bunch in my opinion, especially if you have the PlayStation version, you can retire it and use the PlayStation 2 version. Now before we can give our score here, let's go to our TTBurger pros and cons chart to determine the score of the game. The TTBurger pros. Rayman is back in full 3D. This time, the story and setting have a dark, serious theme to it. The Robo-Pirates and Admiral Razorbeard are great antagonists. Great supporting characters like Glowbox and Lee and Murphy and Clark the Giant. Rayman has a lot of his powers right away, like helicopter hair and using his fist and hanging. Rayman can swim underwater this time. Puzzles are very fun and innovative to solve. Great voice setting, especially the Raymanian voice setting. Different lumps of familiar spirits help you throughout the game. hub world exclusive to the PlayStation 2 version. You can punch plums from trees again. Simple controls, and while the PlayStation version is the least best of the bunch, no matter which version of the game you get, you're in for a treat. The TTBurger cons are still some balance issues in the difficulty. The framing can get really atrocious at times. The mixing for the voices is very low, you can barely hear them. This is a problem only in the PlayStation 2 version. The plums are not as well as last time due to the way you move, it can get you killed. Boss fights are too easy if you know what you're doing. It is easy to get lost at times due to how big and similar certain areas look. I think all the yellow lumps, familiar spirits is pointless because the only reward you get are minigames and 100% complete. The other ports, while they're great and stuff like that, they got the issues like the Nintendo 64 version has the washed out visuals and the controls, and the PC and Dreamcast version as well. They're basically just high res versions of the Nintendo 64 version. PlayStation version is missing half the content and stuff, and the DS version and 3D version just basically ports the Nintendo 64 and Dreamcast versions on handle with no issues whatsoever. And even the PlayStation 2 version is not the best either, with like some of those issues there as well. But still, it's the best of the bunch. For final thoughts here for this rating, I can give Rayman 2 Revolution a 9 out of 10. The best score I can give it. And if you can find it, you can find it. Just be willing to spend like $20 on the game, but still, it's better than how like certain games are these days, how they have a price. So I recommend Rayman 2 Revolution. It's the best version of the bunch, but if you don't have it, the other versions are a lot as well, even the PlayStation version. And that's it for this episode, part 2 of my Rayman series review. We're going to be looking at the final game of the trilogy next, Rayman 3 Hoodlum Habit on the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube, and more. How does this fare? It's the third in the trilogy. What we find here? Find out next, which all I gotta say is Tony, peace and out, have a good day, and see you all in my review of Rayman 3 Hoodlum Habit. Take care, everybody.